What up, guys? Welcome to this episode. As today we are going to dive deep and discuss everything that comes to value. Okay. A lot of times I've been told that if someone doesn't sign up for care, you didn't communicate well, you didn't share the value of chiropractic and so forth. While I do agree with that, I'm not 100% sold because there is also where is the patient comfortable with, right? There's a patient I was working with and she's like, I'm a skeptic. I don't want to go long term with anything because I usually do care plans, minimum of 3 months. And we really try to get to the year because it's not chiropractic care is not a short-term thing. You can have a different philosophy and a different practice, and that's perfectly fine. That's just how I practice it. And so it's one of those things that when you look at the value of it, right? She was like, I'm a skeptic. And all of a sudden she starts getting care. Wow, absolutely amazing. Things are going well. She can't believe it. Energy, sleeping better, mood, pain's gone. And she's just like, I can't believe my stress is less. I had all these emotional anxiety issues. They're not there. How the heck is this working? I don't understand. And so I would just drop a little bit of some nuggets here and there of education on how that works and just to educate a little at a time. But then all of a sudden, right, what the level do they come to, right? So I'm feeding in, telling them how, what does that mean to you? How much is that valuable to you? How does that change your life as a business owner? How does it, so just having those conversations a little at a time because I'm really trying to create value. I'm really good at creating value. And then all of a sudden, insurance happens to max, right? And she's like, I'm done. Can't afford this. And so I looked at her and I just said, all the results you've had a question about how much valuable is it to not have those anymore and go back to where you were? If that happens, right? Because we don't know if it happens. It could, but I know one thing scientifically true, and that is it could eventually come back some way, some shape, some form. It will eventually, or it will show up in something different as we broke the pattern down a little bit. But one way or another, it's going to show back up. And so it's one of those things where I just asked, what's the value of it? And, and that she's like, it's great and everything. I just can't, and I said, okay, great. I was like, if it ever changes, let me know. Now, some chiros and some coaching groups and some coaches might say, hey, wait a minute, you need to press that. You need to dive deeper. Here's where it is. Everybody has a max of what they're going to be able to handle based on dollar amount. And it's how they value and how they see it. Our job is we need to be salesy, right? In the sense that we have to educate, market, and sell chiropractic. If you don't like those terms, unfortunately, you're not an entrepreneur. Those are things we do every single day. But it's one of the things that understanding that some people just have a level of where they see it at and they don't have anything else to it. It could be how they value their health, right? Some people who don't value health aren't going to pay top dollar for things. Hell, if you saw my health bill and what I spend, you're going to realize I'm very big in the holistic health. It's my number one priority. I'll spend thousands on something, even if it helps me just a little bit. Like I'll tell my wife, here's some things I want. And it's like 5,000 for this, 10,000 for this. She's just like, what the heck? And I'm like, that's what I want. I don't like fancy cars. I don't like really having fancy things. I don't care what name brand I have. As long as I'm comfortable and I look good in it, I can care less what the name brand is. So there's savings with that. And so then it's like, okay, I put that into my health or I put that into businesses and things like that. But so everyone's going to have a level to where they are. And that's okay. That's just where they were ready for. It's just like when I'm coaching, there's a lot of information I get out there. There's a lot of people I work with, and sometimes they hit their max or what they want to do. And it's like, hey, that's fine. Whenever we're ready to come back together, let me know. And I'll be more here to help serve you and help you in that process. And I think that's sometimes, but you have to know that you've done all that you can, and you have to feel and know when they're at their max. Because some people say, well, it's just the insurance game. That's why it works. I can blame that. And partially that is true. But at the same token, it's one of the things where you're meeting them where they are, how they value their health. And our job is just to educate and teach how chiropractic works and how it plays a role, not on just their health, but their life. You see, I used to go on the health side first, and I was always hammering the health side when I first started my career. And it helped. It didn't really blow up things, but it kind of helped a little bit. And then things drastically changed when I talked about their life, right? I remember a kid I was adjusting. And I was adjusting the whole family. But I remember the kid one time looked at me and was like, I love coming here. I love getting adjusted. And they're like, the parents were just looking at me smiling, like, he really looks forward to this every single time. Like he wants to be the first one to get adjusted. And I see this often in my office, but he wants to be the first one to be adjusted. And he wants to help me throughout the adjustment. And then one day he looked at me and I said, hey, so why do you like getting adjusted so much? I was just curious. I was picking his brain a little bit. And he looks at me and he goes, because daddy's happier. My daddy's nice to me. Now, I'm not getting into what happened. I don't know what was going on. Maybe he yells at him. I don't know. But all of a sudden, I just took a step back, looked at dad, and he just nodded his head. And he goes, you know what? I'll be honest. He goes, I'm a lot calmer. I'm not as reactive and so much more. So I looked at Dad and said, how much is that worth to you? How much do you value that? Right? How much is it worth to hear your son say that? Right? Here's a string I can pull on. Now, I'm not being manipulative. I'm showing value. And he goes, wow. Yeah. He goes, it's a game changer. Even in work and stuff, it's like that. And I said, probably, I didn't say wife and husband. I just looked at wife and I just pointed, and he nodded his head. That was over 5 years ago. There's still a patient today. They come in regardless, right? Because they know the changes and they've learned over time. And he even says, I don't need to know what you do. I can care less on how this all works. He goes, what I care about is what you taught me, right? I met his value of what was valuable to him, and I tried to connect the dots. And sometimes I'm good at it, and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I miss the boat too, guys. It happens. But you have to understand that some people say, well, it's always communication. It's always communication. Well, then Tony Robbins should be hitting 100% on all his seminars and everything he does to get people to sign up for stuff. And you know what? He doesn't. He said, what I've read is that it's around 90% he'll close. 10% doesn't. Or they when they come to a workshop, 90% will enjoy it. 10% want a refund. And no matter what, it's been roughly around 10%, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, but it's roughly averaging around 10%. So here's Tony Robbins, was considered one of the best at what he does. And yet he still has a 10%. But yet we're going to have coaches in our profession tell us that, no, you suck at core communication because you didn't close the deal because of X, Y, Z. That ain't right. That's just digging you a deeper hole and losing less value and losing your confidence and certainty and your energy into growing and expanding. Instead, you're going to shrink, which is going to affect your life. It's going to affect every fabric of it, and it'll affect your business. So we want to look at how to create value, okay? And knowing that your job is just to educate and connect with them. I've talked about this in the consult. That's where it all starts. If the day 2 is hard to close, you failed at day 1. It's just that simple. And so if you need help with these things, right? I built my practice on a referral-based system, right? The only time, and I'm very transparent, the only time I did Facebook marketing was for 7.5 months on May 2020 to June 2021. That's it. So after that, I said it was a waste of time because all of a sudden I was getting more referrals than I was getting from Facebook ads. And it was one of the things where I'm like, I'm going back to my referral system. This just works. And it's amazing because through our referrals, that's how I built my business to where it is today. It's how I've over doubled my profits. It's how I didn't have to do anything new, didn't have to spend any more money. And that's how I could keep my expenses under 30%. And it's not like I'm making, if I had a 7-figure practice, I could probably take it down to 15%. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine you taking home 80, 85%. This is what I'm good at. This is how I see things. I'm very good at, from a business standpoint, looking how do we trim the fat, use only what you need, and be as clean as possible. Get the greatest bang for your buck, spending as minimal as you can to get the greatest bang. This is something I'm an expert at and what I've been doing in my business and helping other business owners do just that. And so if this is something you're like looking at too, how do I dive deeper? How do I create more value? How do I create a referral-based system, or a referral-based practice? DM me referral, and we can have more of a conversation on that, because it's something that I'm passionate about, helping chiropractors out to level up, to make things simpler. I just see so much noise in the world. There's so much noise in the world in general. You gotta understand, I work with entrepreneurs and I coach entrepreneurs, and the noise they get is unreal. Well, chiropractors are no different. We're entrepreneurs also. So there's not a difference there. It's just we have a little different business model than how it is in regular business. Just a little, but it's not much. You can take business concepts, but it's slightly less different. And the key is, how do we learn to maximize as much as we possibly can? Because we're not running a business like a restaurant. That's a whole different animal and vehicle. There are some business concepts that work, but there's other things we need to do into that, and so much more. So if you're interested in learning, diving deep and really creating something like that, just DM me referrals and we can have a conversation. And as always, I appreciate you tuning in to the podcast. As always, if it's your first time listening, please share a review, follow us, and so much more. And if you found this inspirational, or you know someone who needs to hear this, please pay it forward. Share this episode with them so they can dive deeper, go create the more of that freedom that they desire, add more value to what they do. That'll help the bottom line so much more and give you the chance to have more freedom in what you want to do in your life. Appreciate you as always. I'll talk to you guys next week.